Hello, listeners and viewers alike. My name is Taylor, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Bree and Sam, and you're listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast, part of Save the Game Media, brought to you from the Intergalactic Space Station. I just made that up. And firstly, a special thanks to our patrons, Bucky Blue, Hopple, and Alpaca Tom. Please go to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia to check it out. And you can also check out our YouTube at Save the Game Media and the Discord. Links to each will be in the show notes. So, how are we doing today, Bree and Sam?
Pretty good. Yeah. I'm doing well. It's quite hot here in the UK, so I've got a fan far off in the distance, keeping me cool.
How hot is it? I assume you're going to throw Celsius at me, so I have my converter ready because I'm a greedy Imperial.
It is currently right here, 24 degrees Celsius.
Oh, come on. 75 Fahrenheit? Come on, Sam.
You're talking to UK people here. We are used to rain and cold and damp.
It's a really nice day. It's a really nice day.
I prefer the cold. No, 75 is too hot.
Oh, so do I. Yeah. I need it to be cool.
Hot.
You can always put on layers to avoid the cold. But when it's hot,
exactly.
You can't do anything to avoid the heat
unless you have AC. Unless you have the privilege of having AC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as soon as you don't have AC, it's like that's it for you. And that's what you can only take so many clothes off, right?
Just go around in my room doing my
escape.
daily activities nude, or be like, this is my life now.
Yeah, and then it's still too hot, and then your skin is sticking, and I don't like it.
Thank God for showers.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Hygiene. Amen. I'm talking to you, Dorito Mountain Dew listener. Please practice hygiene.
I feel personally attacked.
It was definitely directed.
Yep. Well, I guess to start off, after that, what you guys been playing?
I mean, yeah, I'll go first, I suppose.
Okay.
To be fair, I need to contextualize this because this is probably going to be something that comes up week to week. I have made it a commitment to myself to delve into the depths of the PlayStation Plus premium catalog.
Ooh, please tell.
And try out just everything, or not literally everything, but just anything I can, anything that grabs my interest even slightly.
Sure.
And prior to the PlayStation Plus revamp coming out, I was interested in 100% in games and getting platinums if they were easy. But now that I've got the Game Pass equivalent, so to speak, where I can just access tons of games for free, it's turned me into a monster. I've had lots of free time recently, and I've been doing nothing but just cleaning my way through. So I've been working on a lot of platinum trophies, adding to my collection, 149 and counting, going strong.
What are some of the games you're playing?
The two games I've been playing most recently, though, are The Artful Escape, which made a big splash on Xbox, I think, last year. Right. It's a really quirky little platformer.
I am familiar with it. It looks really cool. All about music.
It is.
Bob Dylan-esque.
Totally. Yeah. Very psychedelic as well. Very weird, very quirky, quite short, which was nice. Very easy to finish, which might please both of you two to hear. And the other game that I've played that I would heartily recommend, or was worth a shout out at least, is Deliver Us the Moon. It's quite a few years old now, but it's a very small, again, indie adventure puzzler.
Haven't heard of this.
Where you are alone on a space station on the moon, and you are essentially, without spoilers, having to restart a facility to save Earth. And there's lots of really interesting gameplay mechanics. I think the story is really compelling. It's got a bit of walking simulator in there that's telling you a narrative as you're just walking through the corridors and experiencing the atmosphere. So those two are what I'm currently working my way through.
Awesome. Thanks. Maybe I'll add it to my wish list. I never heard of it, but that seems intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. For me, I haven't really, I had a really crazy week
okay.
and had not a lot of time.
Yeah,
But
real life
I
exists.
did. Oh God, real life unfortunately just sucks sometimes. So the game that I did play, I freaking finished it. I'm so proud of myself. It's called The Deepest Sword. It's a little old at this point. It's not like super old, but it's like a little bit older. It's like just an indie game. It took me like 30 minutes to beat it, but it was so funny and it was so worth the time. It is unexpectedly just sexual innuendos the whole time because it's about like so basically you start out with like a short sword and then you like are trying to stab a dragon in the heart and the dragon's like, oh, that's not deep enough, and it just gets the sword just gets
Oh
longer
my
from there.
god, that sounds hilarious.
It's really funny, and it's
So-
like the mechanics are very interesting. Love it.
Oh, it's free to play.
Oh.
Why is it free to play?
Ooh.
Why they make it
It's
free?
like it's a pretty short game. If it wasn't, I would say it's probably only going to be like $1 or $2.
Oh, okay, you said it was 30 minutes, but wow, I'm just
Yeah.
surprised people, even if it's 30 minutes, even though the game's 30 minutes, that probably took at least a few hundred hours to make.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm just shocked
Yeah,
people
it
can afford
definitely
to
would
give
be
it out
worth
for
the
free.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really good. The art style was fun. The dialogue was fun. It was just, and I couldn't stop laughing. Like obviously, at like the sexual innuendos, like it really got me. I couldn't stop laughing. So
I love it. That's great. Cool. Thanks. So I guess
What about you, Taylor?
yeah, I'm just left. So over this past week, I've been getting more into traditional fighting games, the FGC fighting game community, and things surrounding that, including and at the forefront, Street Fighter V. With the recent reveal of Street Fighter VI from Capcom, it's kind of reinvigorated my interest to try to push hard to get into traditional fighting games. And as you guys know, or listeners may or may not know, I'm a huge fan of Smash Brothers, but I wanted to get more into also traditional fighting games and looking at that side of competitive gaming because I've never been a big esports like hero shooters or league type guy, but fighting games have always been something that seemed interesting, and I loved watching Street Fighter over the past couple weeks and learning more about traditional fighting games in that game specifically. And I started listening to Triple KO. That's a fighting game podcast ran by the biggest fighting game YouTuber on the platform, Maximilian Dude, and a couple of his friends, Justin Wong, who won like 8 or approaching 10 Evo championships, which is the biggest fighting game championship series in the world, and another YouTuber named Matt McMuscles. But that's been a really cool ride. So I got Street Fighter V on the Steam sale, and I think I got the game and all the DLC for $30, which is good.
Not bad.
Yeah, and I've started screwing around with Akuma, which is kind of fights a bit like Ryu and Ken if you've seen them play in that game, but he's more of the bad guy adversary, like demon, dark energy type vibes. But he's a really sick character that way. So I've been playing that and a little bit of Smash Ultimate as well.
Of course.
But mainly Street Fighter. So yeah, just complete new, but trying to learn more.
Awesome.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I feel like I can't get those combos. Like I can't.
yeah. Well,
That's the thing for me as well.
Yeah.
It feels impenetrable. I know it's probably not. Probably if I do give it a go and stick
Yeah.
with it, you probably can get into it. But
That's the thing. It's also my first time using an arcade stick. Like I own an arcade stick that I haven't used much, but I'm learning stick for the first time and a traditional fighting game for the first time. So it's a lot. It is overwhelming, but I have friends on Discord who, are really into traditional fighters, and it's just the first thing when I told one of them I was playing it, they said in all caps, "Patience." And I think they're definitely right. I have to, get myself some grace here and not give it up after 2 hours of a learning barrier, because that's what it takes eventually to get good at these games. Time. But yeah. On that note, let's get into the news over this past week of PlayStation. Pretty dense news week, I'd say. Starting off with something a bit lighter. The new PlayStation Plus Now they used to be monthly PlayStation Plus games. They're now monthly PlayStation Plus Essential games due to the recent tiering by Sony and the expansion of PS Plus. But these are available to download as of Tuesday, July 5th on all tiers of the new PlayStation Plus service. So that includes Essential, Extra, and Premium. And the games included are Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I'm personally very excited for this. I've been wanting to play Crash 4 as a fan of platformers, and I was too stubborn to spend money. But Sony solved that problem. The Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan, which I've heard not good things about, but you can download it and can press buttons. And
I always wanted to check out the Dark Picture games. Like, I haven't played any of them, but I really love horror games.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, cool. Well, The Quarry is a recent game that everyone's talking about.
Mm-hmm. That one looks so good.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror game fan, but over the past few years I've gotten more into horror film. I've seen all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I saw the original Halloween recently from 1978. I love Kurt.
Film.
I love him. Carpenter. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got into horror recently as well. I don't know what happened, but when I went through my last breakup, I was like, you know what I need in my life? Horror.
Makes you feel something.
Oh yeah, it does. I'm like, look, these guys' lives suck way more than mine.
No, that's a real thing. Like there's a sense of safety knowing that you're not in acute danger. And I think that's the sense of feeling you get when you watch horror or big epic fail videos or someone like falls in their face. It's not from a humor point of view, but it's in a dark way, but it's true, comforting to know that you're doing better than X person who's just about to die.
Yeah. I think that's my theory as to what it was. But yeah, I have like a bunch of film friends from college, and that's what I did. I messaged them and I was like, hi, I need horror recommendations. And I just watched a bunch of horror films.
Awesome. So what'd you watch?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't remember. Oh, you know what? Oh God, what is it? There's a Korean film that's like literally the scariest film. I will literally look it up. If you want to go through the rest of the game, I'll look it up right
now. All right. Sure. And the last PS Plus game for July is Arcadegeddon. I've heard decent things about this game. It's a compilation of like mini arcade titles all packed into one game that you can, I think, play against each other online as well.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, but Sam, are you familiar?
I haven't played it either, but I've been sort of keeping a keen eye on it. Typically not my kind of game, but it kind of reminds me of a Rocket League or a Knockout City, the kind of party games that typically launch or release close to launch on a streaming service, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation, and they get a massive influx of players that way, and then that sort of helps build up the community and the long-term longevity, I suppose. I think this could be the next one. There are some that have come and gone, but from what I'm seeing, it looks really fun. I think the art style is going to help it a lot. It seems quite accessible on a gameplay level from the previews that I've seen. So yeah, I think it's a good get. Other than that, though, I think this month is a bit of a weak one. Personally, I'm also excited for Crash 4, but the completionist in me is looking at that, thinking there is no way I'm going to be able to 100% it. I'll play through all the levels and I'll have a fun time, but then I'll be like sat at 50%, maybe 60%, and it'll hurt my heart because I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
You have to do all those reverse levels and stuff too.
Oh, that's
time trials and
I love I'm a big precise platformer fan, so like that's kind of exciting to me. For context, I'm a big Mario fan, like Mario platformers, and I've also gotten into Mario Maker and what's called Kaizo Mario, which are ultra difficult Super Mario World ROM hacks that fans make in a map editing software for the game called Lunar Magic, and you just patch the ROM for it and you play them, and they're like very hard, many hours labbing, practicing them out, and kind of doing these precise levels. But I'm a fan of those harder platformers, so I'm still going to give it a shot.
Yeah,
and seems like you like a lot of like precise stuff, like fighting games, those platformers, stuff like that. Like anything that requires like a specific skill, like
Yeah, thanks. I
get
guess
through.
thanks for noticing that. I guess that might be a trend.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There you go. Thanks, Bree, my therapist.
You know what? I will. I don't know what to say besides like I've gone through a lot of therapy, so you're welcome. I overanalyze everything now.
I love me some therapy.
Mm.
Therapy is great, but also like now I'm like, you know what? I think this is probably because of this, and I like give myself reasons for everything now.
Mm.
So yeah, that's fun. The horror movie, I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, and I sincerely
right.
apologize, but it's Gonjam Haunted Asylum, and it's Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. It's a Korean horror film. It is the scariest film I've ever seen, and it's so freaking good. And that's one of the films I watched during my last breakup. So
Whatever it takes to get through it.
yeah, it's really good.
All right. And I think I'll take the next story and then hand it off to you guys just because this one's like really technical and I wrote it up and there's a lot of like small details in here. But anyway.
Give it to us. Go.
Okay. Sony revealed new INZONE. They're calling it INZONE. That's INZONE, one word. Gaming monitors and headsets. They are 2 new gaming monitors and 3 headsets, again, called INZONE. And I guess it's to be in the zone is where their marketing team was thinking. I think it's
Honestly,
a bit out of left field and awkward.
It feels like it almost feels like American football. Like that's what it sounds like to me.
In the end
You know
zone?
what I mean? Yeah, that's like what it sounds like to me. That's what I think of. I don't think of like video games. I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
because red zone is also a popular term where I think if you're within 10 yards of the end zone, they call that whole thing the red zone. And then the end zone itself where you get a touchdown. But yeah, it's a bit odd. I think, I don't know, they should have made it, I don't know, like Pulse headset wasn't a bad name. Do something like that. I don't know. Pulse Ultra, Pulse 2, like the PlayStation Gold headsets, they've been able to nail marketing on their hardware before, but this doesn't really hit. But
I guess it's because it's like Sony general as opposed to PlayStation specific. So I think that maybe they have different teams working on the branding.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I guess that's a good segue into the hardware specs and how they're integrating this. So the monitors, there have 2 INZONE monitors. One is called the INZONE M9, which is a 27-inch 4K 144 hertz refresh rate, HDR 600 nit IPS monitor. Say that 10 times. And it's $900 USD. That's steep, but I think for the specs you're getting, that's actually about at the market value. 4K 144 hertz, they get that expensive, and it's going to be PS5 optimized and Evo ready. Evo is the Evolution Fighting Game Championships, as I mentioned earlier, and Sony's gearing this new hardware line towards Evo because for those who don't know, Sony bought Evo, the Evolution Fighting Game Championships, about a year or 2 ago. So I think it makes sense that they're pushing their hardware over there to promote themselves and etc. But yeah, that is the first Evo monitor, and there's a second one. Its sister monitor is the INZONE M3, which is a 27-inch 1080p. We're dropping the resolution, 240 hertz, HDR dropping from 600 to 400 nit compared to the M9 monitor, and that's $530. And yeah, both these monitors have VRR, and this story came from Push Square. Well, originally from Sony, but it's where we sourced it for podcast.
I'm kind of curious, like what, because like just like doing like a quick search for like 27-inch 4K monitor, it's looking like $200-300, maybe $400. So I'm wondering like what makes that $900 price point worth it.
The refresh rate, 144 hertz, IPS, and VRR, variable refresh rate. All of those extra, quote, gamer specs put it over the top, especially maybe first off the IPS panel. That's a high quality panel. And the HDR, the high quality HDR might also do it. Also, it's a
I just
Sony
feel
branded
like
product, and they're
that's what
known
I
for
was
being
gonna say.
premium, and they'll hike the price because that's what their brand is, premium.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering is like I wonder like how much they're charging because it's like a Sony brand thing.
Yeah. Like LG has their Ultra Gear 4K monitors for approaching $1,000 US. So that's why I said at least the 4K monitor seemed right at about market spec. The 1080p monitor seemed relative to the market priced high, if I were to say. But any thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, like it's a bit out of my depth because I game pretty much exclusively on console. So when I see these new sort of ranges of hardware, it doesn't it kind of just goes over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what all of the specs mean and what they actually contribute towards and all of that, but it's ultimately not something that I'm invested in, so I don't really give that much purchase to. But I think it makes, like you say, it makes sense, especially because they purchased Evo, and they are making a stronger push towards PC in general. I think that this is even more of an indication of that they are sort of tripling down on trying to not necessarily bring over people, but to integrate Sony hardware and then potentially down the line software into PC gamers' repertoires.
I don't think they have a choice on that, honestly. I think that you're right. It is moving towards that.
Yeah.
But the thing is like because Microsoft is just like kind of automatically integrated with PC, like they're losing out on a lot when they don't integrate with PC like
Yeah.
that. So I think that has to be the way forward for them if they want to like keep up as far as like software sales.
Right.
Yeah.
And we see them moving software to PC. Most recently, The Last of Us remake is coming to PC. Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales are coming to PC. Horizon Zero Dawn's already there. God of War's already there. Days Gone's already there. It's only a matter of time, I think. I mean, before it becomes day and date, maybe in a few years' time. But the gap between games releasing on PS5 and coming to PC is getting ever smaller as time goes on. So I think it makes sense. Yeah, for all the reasons you guys said. And also, the headsets they're releasing. Sorry, I forgot to mention. These monitors are releasing later this summer. Sony hasn't given any clarification on what time frame that is. It's just later this summer. But the headsets release July 7th. And these compose of 3 headsets. The INZONE H9, which is a wireless headset that offers 32 hours of battery life and digital noise cancellation, and that'll be $300. And PC players can download a companion app to adjust their audio and EQ settings, which I think is very nice. Then there's the INZONE H7, which is also wireless, no digital noise cancellation, but it has 40 hours of battery life and it's $70 less, coming in at $230. And then there's the INZONE H3, which is a step down from the intermediate H7, which will be $100, and that's going to be wired as well. I wonder if they're going to phase out their Pulse headset or not, or have these concurrently on the market. INZONE is also geared towards PlayStation 2, in addition to PC guys, and it's also going to be at Evo. But yeah. Any thoughts from you two? I guess Sam, you with your Pulse headset, are you a little compromised here?
No, again, this means absolutely nothing to me. I think there would need to be something else there to sort of hook me in. I think it's close, like some of the stuff there, particularly with like the H7 potentially is where I would be looking mainly. It just needs something else. I think that the Pulse does everything I need to, again, because I'm pretty much just on PS5. But we'll see, again, like you say, whether they phase out Pulse or whether it's going to be sold concurrently or whether they are going to release like a 2.0 version of Pulse to run alongside this. So the INZONEs are specifically more catered towards PC, and then the Pulse line is for PS5. It's too early to tell, I think. But yeah, this doesn't really mean anything to me, unfortunately.
I mean, I personally, I've been like in the market for headphones specifically, to like hook up with my computer, since I'm getting like a dedicated microphone now, so I don't need like the gamer headset anymore. So like I've like been looking into this stuff, and I just feel like again, like they're just kind of charging like a premium for being like this like INZONE brand or whatever, because like, and I mean, I like literally am wearing like AirPod Maxes right now, so like obviously like I fall for the marketing. But at the same time, like if I'm like looking for like a PC gaming like headset or like even PlayStation gaming headset, I don't think that this is really what I'm gonna look for because I feel like you can get a lot better quality for that price
Mhm.
point, or you could get the same quality for cheaper and just have it be a different brand.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm also not going to be, I don't think, investing in these, but I might be getting a new headset sometime in the next year because my headset I have now is running on like maybe 6 years old. So
Mhm.
it's HyperX Cloud, which is decent, but like not crazy. I think I'd probably go towards an open back headsets. I like having noise ambience around. Noise cancellation makes me feel too isolated. Um,
I seriously, the noise cancellation. So sometimes, like if I'm in public and I like, particularly for the headphones I'm wearing, I'll use it to like help sometimes that I don't get as bad of anxiety. But most of the time when I'm at home, like I have to have one headset, like one ear off because if I have both of them on and it's got like the closed back, like I get so much anxiety because I'm like
yeah,
not that there's anybody gonna come in my room, but you know.
yeah, I get you. Yeah, I just always liked having ambience around, but that's just me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to take the next relatively small story, but positive?
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I suppose. Why not? Um, Good news, everybody! Glorious news. PS5s are getting easier to purchase. There have been some restocks, multiple over the past few weeks on the PS Direct site. There was no queues with one or two of those restocks. Wario64 pointed that out on Twitter. Thank you very much, Wario, as always. Link to tomsguide.com. I think it's very surface level, but it's good news. I think that's a sign that the shortages, whilst they're still rampant overall, I think that we're starting to hit the tail end of it, and the people that want to get the consoles can. And I think that is good for obviously people that don't have PS5s, but also probably good news for people that do have PS5s because the more people that have PS5s, I'm all about everybody having access to games, but I still think that they need to move forward with this generation more than they are. I think that there is still a reliance on cross-gen, understandably because of the shortages. But I think we're going to, assuming maybe with one of the stories that we're going to talk about in a minute, that might be the last one we're going to see, hopefully. So yeah, good news. Good news.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that like because it is really sad to hear like all of these stories about people who have been waiting so long to get their PS5 and like my heart just breaks for them because like I really wish that everybody like did have a PS5. The other thing that like kind of factors into this that I really am genuinely curious is when you watch like Xbox sales versus PlayStation sales and like how they're trending, I wonder like how the shortage is affecting those numbers and
Mhm.
if PS5 would absolutely be destroying Xbox if it wasn't a problem.
Right. So I think if hardware wasn't a problem, I still think PS5 hardware would still be vastly ahead of Xbox right now for a couple reasons. One of them is the legacy of the 8th generation in the PS4 and Xbox One.
Mhm.
There was no contest. Xbox was totally off the ball for maybe like 2013 to let's say about 2018, 2017.
Yeah.
Um, and that just totally did the damage. Xbox really didn't have much of anything going for it until Game Pass started hitting its stride. So I think that momentum is totally already pushed Sony ahead of the pack going into the 8th gen that we've seen so far. And Xbox's market share right now, they're not focused on selling hardware, they're focused on selling you Game Pass. Xbox is Game Pass. Um, and I think people who don't want to accept that have to take another look in the mirror, to be quite honest, because that has been Xbox's complete push over the past couple years. Every first party game day and date, tons of big third party deals, including, I'm sure for a hell of a lot of money, the Riot deal recently, where Game Pass subscribers get every champion and hero from League of Legends and Valorant. Like it's a total of over $600 of content included. Xbox is so hell bent on pushing the subscription service, and it's also been a big push by Microsoft anyway. with Microsoft Office 365 and other things they've been doing with their software for the greater company. But yeah, that's why I just think comparing Xbox and PlayStation sales are apples and oranges now because of Game Pass.
Yeah. To be fair, they are doing a really great job with Game Pass.
Yes, they're doing.
And I'm hopeful that with like these new changes that PlayStation will be able to kind of like pick things up, because I feel like they have been dropping the ball on that front.
Yeah,
I think there's no way that we would have gotten the PlayStation Plus revamp if Game Pass wasn't doing as well as it is.
I'd agree.
PlayStation Now was still doing well for what it was, but it just didn't have the mind share from the general public in the same way that Game Pass does. And you said it exactly right, Taylor, that they are moving away from consoles. They are focusing on xCloud. They are apparently working on like a dongle that you just plug into your TV, so you don't need any console. I don't think PlayStation will go that far, at least not for the time being, unless that again starts to prove really successful.
Yeah, I think with their TV shows, which we'll talk about later, that's how they're kind of foraying into other markets. But yeah, I'd agree with you there.
So I mean, I think you're right that PlayStation would be ahead for a number of reasons, but it's probably closer than some Sony fanboys might like to admit because of how Game Pass is killing it. They are knocking it out of the park, and that's healthy competition because again, PlayStation Plus revamp, the success of one does not omit the success of another. They bolster each other in a number of ways. So hopefully, even if they do move away from hardware sales, Xbox, I think that they'll keep pushing in different markets and Sony will follow or not. And one decision will inform the next, that kind of thing. That's how the industry works.
Said. All right, Bree, tell us about some God of War.
Oh my God. Okay. So, gosh, this week has been crazy. Like, people have been popping off on Twitter. I don't even go on Twitter. And I heard
Twitter.
The news.
Yay, Bree.
It's a cesspit. Avoid it, please.
Well, it's like, I don't even know what to say. Like, what do I have to say? Anyway, I'm just too long-winded for it.
Yeah, only 140 characters. Or they do tweet threads where it's 1/ and then it's out of a series of like 9 messages that Twitter breaks up into 9 separate 140 character chains, which is hell. But anyway,
that would literally be me though. Like with every tweet, it would be just like 10 threads.
Well, there's twit longer. And when someone posts a twit longer, it's usually bad. Like that's not good news if they're posting a twit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so where is God of War Ragnarok? Right? Freaking God of War.
Where's
all right? So we are kind of getting all these rumors from like the state of play, from Twitter, from Jason Schreier, that like release dates and such are coming up. They were going to be dropped at the end of June. It's what it sounds like, or it sounded like. And then it wasn't. But we kind of, they keep saying like it's not delayed. And I respect that, like they keep saying that, but also like I'm still concerned.
Yeah.
Because just say it. Because if they're denying it so hard at this point, if they do end up delaying it, it's gonna be like so sad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're just that confident.
I don't know. So I always thought God of War was a 2023 game, and Jason Schreier said specifically, right, that there was supposed to be a reveal on June 30th, but that was pulled at the last second for whatever reason. Maybe it was Corey Barlog and David Jaffe going at it on Twitter, but Schreier still says it's not delayed. That we had this pull of the announcement, but it's disconcerting as kind of an enthusiast to be like, they should have done this by now. God of War Ragnarok's my most anticipated game, and I've always said it's 2023 until someone tells me otherwise. So right now I'm still riding that thunder after people keep telling me off. But
I wonder, because like I feel like I was just talking about this the other day that like more games could stand to just like drop, because like how much hype would that create if Ragnarok was just out?
Oh right? Yeah, we see this with
so
Nintendo.
I'm wondering if that's going to happen. Like I don't think it will happen, but like it could, and that would be really cool.
Right. If it
I
just
think
drops.
I think that they know what they've got. They know that it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. Whether it wins or not, that's a completely different, almost irrelevant question.
It is
But they
relevant.
know that it is going to sell gangbusters. They know that it's going to get nominations. They know it's probably going to get wins, hopefully, if it's good. I can't see a world where it isn't good. I think that from what I know, there's a multifaceted reason for why the announcement was pulled. One of which is Roe v. Wade.
Okay.
All of that happening, they didn't want to sort of bog themselves down in that. They wanted to let that be the focus. You saw all the PlayStation studios making statements about Roe v. Wade, which was wonderful.
Right.
And that's one reason, because even PlayStation in general, I think they delayed their reveal of the PS5 showcase
George
because
Floyd?
of the BLM. Yeah, BLM
Yeah, I
protests
was going to
and
mention
whatnot.
that. Yeah, 2 years ago, I'm almost positive that's they did.
Yeah. So there's precedent, and I think that is one of the reasons. I think as well. No, I'm not confident enough to say anything else, but Schreier is almost certainly right that if it was to be delayed into 2023, they would have said by now. Everything is still looking to be a November release. And I think that we probably will still hear something within the next month, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm wondering because they do. There's a lot of conferences like August, September timeframe. So I'm wondering.
Gamescom is a big rumor that they're going to show it there. That's in August. Yeah.
It's looking like they might have another showcase in September, or at least that's the rumblings, like a big sort of blowout of first party. Because other than what we got, Last of Us Part 1 remake, we've got God of War Ragnarok, we have Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. Other than that, we don't actually officially know anything from first party. We don't know Sucker Punch, we don't know Bend, we don't know Santa Monica's other title that they're working on.
Oh yeah.
Naughty Dog. We know nothing.
Yeah.
So it's
Isn't
about
that so
time that we
exciting?
do know. I know, right?
But we know of, right? We know of like a new Uncharted reboot or title. I think it's also, maybe we don't know about it for sure, but I think it's a foregone conclusion with the financial and critical success of Ghost of Tsushima. We are getting a sequel.
Yeah. Nothing just concretely laid out yet. But we know that is what Sucker Punch are working on. It's just, what else might they be working on? Ooh, that's the question, isn't it? Or do we know? That might be coming up later. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they aren't afraid to hold it. I think it will be what you said, Bree. Not quite like a shadow drop, but maybe like a month and a half away from release. They just drop everything, all the dates, all the pre-order information, a massive gameplay deep dive, all of that kind of stuff. Because they know it will get traction regardless of how close to release they do that stuff.
Yeah,
right.
that is true. And I do have confidence in the studio. Like they do good work, and I trust them. Like I definitely trust them to like release the game when it's ready and like know what they're doing. But man, it's my dream to see like a AAA game just like drop like that, where it's like, yeah, and it's out now. Like, can you imagine the hype? Like, if like a huge AAA game like that just was like out.
I think the closest we've gotten to that is Fallout 4 revealing at E3 2015 and then releasing that fall. But yeah, we see, like when it comes to big companies with valuable IP just dropping their games, I think we see this a lot with Nintendo. Specifically, this is actually also recent news for Nintendo Land. There's news from Jeff Grubb and other insiders that Nintendo has already finished their Metroid Prime remaster, and they're just waiting to drop it. We've seen them do this before, like they just dropped effectively the Pikmin 3 port onto Switch with the Twitter post. They gave people a couple months notice before the new Paper Mario Origami King came out. Nintendo kind of puts these cards in its back pocket of valuable IP remakes and remasters that they know will sell. And they're just waiting to pull them out for when they can gain the highest amount of revenue from the timing of that release.
Yeah, I think I just am like really looking for like that huge game. Like, can you imagine like Uncharted 5? Like, we have heard nothing about it. They're like, they show it in a conference and they're like, oh, and by the way, it's out right now.
Yeah,
I think the closest
You know?
that we might get for that is the Factions game, the Last of Us
That's a good
multiplayer
point.
title. I think they might do that kind of thing where they said, "Oh, we'll show more next year." So in 2023, they'll have a state of play, maybe, or they might have a showcase earlier in the year. I'm not sure. Where they highlight it and like, hey, maybe not like fully released, but like it's in beta. You can all go play it now for free, or something. You know, I think they could do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I just don't think they'll do that with their big AAA titles because while one person in PR might be like, "Oh, that'd be so cool," the other person in Sony's internal marketing will say, "No, there's a myriad of lost revenue we have by not revealing the game and building community hype and advertising for it." But I would love to see that one day, even with a smaller game. You know, something of that magnitude that would hit for me would be if Sony just one day said, "Hey, PS3 games are now native on PS Premium, not streaming."
Mm-hmm.
For me, the raggedy Sony old game enthusiast who wants native PS3 titles in their PS5 would I would throw confetti everywhere and it would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great if one day that just happened. Or if Bloodborne went 60 FPS one day. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
It's got to happen
Jim.
sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Sam, what's up with this Horizon TV show?
Oh, well, I mean, some information has been coming out over the past few weeks. Jeff Grubb mainly has been talking about it. He said that they've called it tentatively. The production title is Horizon 2074, and it's being filmed in Toronto. I think that's probably where they're setting it. There are rumors of it happening also a little bit in sort of more California area, but again, way too early to tell. Focusing on two separate timelines, which I think makes the most sense. I think that's really the only way, well, not the only way, but the most logical path for a show, particularly if you aren't playing the games. You would need some of the context pre-apocalypse because the game is set post-apocalypse.
Right, yeah. So one of the timelines is at the onset of the apocalypse.
Yeah, so the 2074 would be like, because
in that
Horizon
frame,
is set like way past that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few hundred years at least.
Yeah.
So that I think that's exciting. You know, for people that have played Horizon, getting to see Aloy, but also then going back in time and having some stuff that isn't in the games relating to Elizabeth Sobek. I think that would be really cool. A really nice sort of stretching your artistic limbs for whoever gets to play that role, because obviously Aloy and Elizabeth Sobek are kind of one and the same. Mild spoilers there, I suppose. But the most recent thing that's come out is that they have some nice talent attached, which is always a good sign. They have members of the crew from both The Boys and The Expanse. I can't speak to The Expanse, haven't seen it, but I've heard only good things. I can speak for The Boys, though, and The Boys is, whilst not necessarily to everyone's taste, I think it's an expertly crafted show.
Oh yeah, I've watched all of season 2 last week, and I just started season 3 today after leaving the show for a couple of years because I just fell off. No good reason after I finished season 1, but it's a stellar show, and the amount of self-awareness, especially considering how much it makes fun of big corporations and it's an Amazon joint, is really fun irony.
And also, if you think about it, that kind of makes sense for Horizon, right? That there is Ted Farrow and characters like that pre-apocalypse that are just absolute a-holes. And I think that you can get some humor in, which is not alien for Horizon, but I think that would be a breath of fresh air for people who have played the game to get something that they can't necessarily experience from playing it. To, you know, might lure them over maybe.
Right. What were you gonna say, Bree?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I really love that we're like alive in this time of games, being treated, and not just games, I guess, like nerd content being treated with such care, where we are now getting not like, because like go 10 years back and you have like nerd content coming out in shows and like movies, but they were not treated the best. But now we're seeing
Right.
like all of these shows come out, like, and production and stuff. Like we're seeing the new Lord of the Rings show come out. We're seeing like the Last of Us TV show. We're seeing like the Uncharted movie, like, you know, all of these kinds of things. And I feel like they're being treated with such care that I'm just like really excited to see like film and TV kind of integrate into other spheres, in a respectful way, and also like not just like garbage movies.
Right. Yeah. I think we saw that spearheaded when the MCU started coming into its own over the past 15 years.
Yeah.
And that just started setting the framework. We're getting great shows as of recent, especially with streaming. These companies are able to curate their shows to their streaming, like Mandalorian on Disney Plus, The Boys on Amazon. Granted, that's not connected to a specific video game, but right. And Last of Us show just wrapped filming in June, so now it's in post production. That'll be coming. Yeah, I think. Well, the companies found out. Oh, this is really profitable because all the nerds eat this up, but also it's making it more into the mainstream. I think in the public eye, video games and other media like books and movies and shows is more acceptable as a norm than it used to be, as more taboo. As there's still a lot of adults who say it's just brain rot, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of people who just acknowledge it as like, oh, yeah, they play games, or oh, this show is a video game adaptation. Okay, it's just becoming more and more frequent in pop culture.
Yeah. I think that they're being able to show that it is profitable, and it's not just like this niche group of people.
Oh,
they wouldn't be making it.
They wouldn't be making this many shows at this scale if it wasn't profitable. Don't you
Yeah,
worry
for
about
sure.
that.
It's definitely, yeah, no, it's definitely, I think they were able to prove it's profitable, but also like I think that the people coming into like the creative spheres are also people that grew up playing video games. So I think that also has a part in it, in that they're like, they grew up on it and now they want to like see that in media.
Yeah, they want to see it to fruition. I get that for sure.
And also, I think like a third facet to that is that PlayStation and Sony just have the IP now at their disposal that are so narratively driven, so cinematic, that they feel that they are even more well equipped to translate that over to TV.
It's a great point that we missed. Yeah, for sure.
Because, like, you know, I'm super hyped for the Last of Us show, for all these shows really, to see how they turn out. But I think that the most intriguing thing is that, or at least what I hope for, it's definitely the case with Last of Us from what I'm hearing, but I would hope it's the same for Horizon and God of War, etc., is that they aren't like one-to-one translations, that we actually get new stories, new characters, stuff that pluses onto the games. Because, yeah, it would be cool seeing a direct one-for-one of The Last of Us in TV form, but at that point, you kind of bring up the argument against the show of like, well, why not just go play the game? Because you are then interacting with that story. So to have something unique to the show, which is what they are going to give us, that's really exciting, because you get not only new fans in that are like, oh, well, the game might not have sold me, but this new twist that you're putting on it for the show, that kind of sounds interesting. And for people who have already experienced the story by playing the game, they also have something new to draw them in and watch. So I think they're on to a winner. I think it's going to be really, not again, profitable, obviously, because they wouldn't be doing it otherwise. But I think it's going to do nothing but help them and their IP overall, for sure.
Yeah. I think it also is like really cool that like, because it's in films, like in films and TV now, like so my mom does not play games at all, like at all. Besides, like, she's obsessed with Beat Saber, but other than that, like, she won't play games. So when she'll watch these shows though, so then I finally get to interact with her about like the story that I've like been trying to convince her to like check out so long. So now we can like finally have those conversations where it's like she doesn't have to play the game, but we can still like have those conversations about like the different content, and it's really exciting.
it's the whole, wait, is this the kind of stories that video games are telling now? Is that kind of
Mhm.
thing, where it's like, again, Taylor, you saying some people still say, oh, it's brain rot, it's a waste of time. If you look at the story of The Last of Us and you actually let it, wash over you, I don't think you can feasibly argue against it being nothing but expert storytelling. So to
Right.
have it in an episodic format for people to consume, maybe who aren't willing to sit down for hours and hours and hours to play through a whole game, to have it in like a more compact, digestible format, I think that might convince some people.
Yeah, show me a bunch of macho middle-aged men who don't break down crying after the first 2 hours of The Last of Us, and just show me that first, and then we'll talk. Right?
You know what? No, that first scene, man, I cry literally every time. Like that first, 10, 15-minute sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, just uncontrollable sobbing every time. It's so good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Bree, what's up with Sucker Punch?
Okay, so Sucker Punch has confirmed there is no new Sly Cooper or infamous titles currently in development, in-house or third party. They're going to support Infamous 2, as far as the servers, for a little bit longer. And then it looks like Second Son Cole Legacy DLC are also, that's going to be free to download. So they're still supporting the content, but...
Yeah, sorry. I just want to say for audio listeners, Sam was kind of writhing in pain here as Bree read that.
I beckoned to the skies, crying out to God why he has forsaken us. It's just sad. I'm sure, and that I don't think there is any world where these IP are permanently dead. But to hear that they aren't in active development is disheartening, particularly because I'm so fond of both of those franchises. I think it's rough. Maybe it's a smokescreen, like I said this in our Discord when the news broke. I think maybe there might be something. I'd be surprised if there wasn't something in at least pre-production right now, where they are conceptualizing narrative or redesigning characters in their art department. I think there must be something like that where they are at least spitballing concepts. But yeah, it's really sad. There's no way else to spin it. It's just really sad.
I have not played either of these franchises, so
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Sam says it's okay, but I know Second
Son.
Son.
I heard the pain.
Yeah, Second Son's the only one natively playable on PS4, PS5, and I haven't played Second Son or any Infamous since a few hours of Infamous 2. But I liked what I played of it. Sly Cooper's a classic, which I played some
of course.
I won't play that one.
Yeah, I think it's because one, Sucker Punch have obviously Ghost of Tsushima 2 to focus on, because the first one did so well. And then secondly, I just think that the last installments in both of those franchises were arguably the weakest. So I think maybe there's a bit of hesitation there of have Sucker Punch outgrown those franchises? I would argue no, because we're talking about Santa Monica. They revisited God of War after a really long break and completely revitalized that franchise. I think Sucker Punch is capable of the same. The leap in quality that they made with Ghost of Tsushima from their previous titles is second to none. So here's hoping that something comes one day, but not yet.
Yeah, I think I almost wonder, especially for Sly Cooper, if that's going to be passed off to a third party. Not that they wouldn't treat it with care, but Sucker Punch, you're right, is kind of moving on. Mm-hmm. So maybe Sony wants to use them as a different resource than developing Sly Cooper, I guess.
I definitely would say that's the case. I would think that Sly, I don't know who they would hand it off to. Probably not anybody first party. It probably would be outside outsourcing. But
what's the name of that company that did the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro?
That's Vicarious and Toys for Bob, but they are now Xbox Studios.
Well, yeah, they're Xbox. They're owned by So Activision bought Crash from Sony. the
Yeah.
IP some
It's a
years
whole
ago,
mess.
and they did with Spyro as well, I think. So yeah, but
Isn't that just sad to think that Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot is technically now an Xbox character? That's just
yeah, right, and Xbox
It's
bought
not
Activision,
in our
and
hearts.
Naughty Dog originally developed Crash, but
yeah.
I don't know who developed Spyro.
That was Insomniac, I think.
Was
That
it
sounds
really?
right.
I think so.
That sounds right. Like for some reason the logo, like yeah, that sounds
Obviously
right.
not the new logo, but the old one. I think I do remember seeing.
Yep, Insomniac.
Yeah. So that hurts even more. That's like a second stab in the heart. That Spyro is also now gone.
Spyro was one of my favorite games growing up, like honestly.
Mhm.
And I am like, I really do love that we got the Reignited trilogy. Like, I couldn't have asked for more with that because it was
Yeah.
handled with such love and care. So it's kind of hard to be mad because they did like treat it so well.
Maybe future installments might stay multiplat. Who knows? Here's hoping, or maybe it's a
That'd be
timed
cool.
exclusive thing. I would like to still see Crash and Spyro titles, which I'm sure there will be more. Crash 4 did well. Bring them to PlayStation, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's third party, so I think they'll. Oh wait, but Xbox owns Activision.
Yeah,
I still feel like that's one of those games they would bring over.
you'd think
I
so.
feel like-
You'd think so.
Yeah, I really feel like they need to like either have some sort of in-house developer or third-party developer that they like just have that starts like doing all these remakes because there's a lot of classic PlayStation like franchises that I feel like really could come back. And I feel like they need somebody to like do that because they don't
Right.
want to just be passing off all of these franchises to random companies.
They already have someone in-house that could work. Team Asobi has done great with Astrobot's Playroom on PS5 that I'm sure they're going to
That's true.
iterate on in a sequel, like a paid sequel, because for those who don't know, Astrobot's Playroom was a pack and title for the PS5. Great one at that. But they have the talent in-house for it, especially as we've seen there. And Astrobot is already becoming a mascot for the company that's family friendly, not just Kratos, which obviously caters to the adult audience. But I think maybe Team Asobi could take on a Crash or no, Activision already owns Crash. They could take on maybe a remake of your Jack and Daxters, your Sly Coopers, your old Ratchet and Clank games, while Insomniac is busy making Spider-Man
Marvel
2,
games,
Wolverine, and like pumping out a game every 18 months. But
yeah, I think that's a good shout. Honestly, they're great at platformers. They've got a very unique style. I think that they could do something similar to what Bluepoint have done historically, where they remake old games but still add in a little bit of their own unique stuff that doesn't change it, dilute it, but puts their own stamp on it. Because I think that if you have a studio that is exclusively just remaking stuff, they might get a little bit long in the tooth for them. They might want to have their own IP alongside that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is like I just really want to start seeing like graphical upgrades, even if they don't necessarily upgrade like the mechanics too much. I just really like some of those older games are just like when you try playing them now, it's just rough.
Yeah.
I get you for sure. And heading off from our last story into our TOTS segment, which for those who don't know means topic of the show, which is a segment that we're doing for special fun topics that we talk about after the news for the past week, just to have some fun discussion. And on lighter news weeks, we'll have maybe more than one topic of the show or a big topic of the show. And more dense news weeks like this, we'll have one and run. But that's kind of the format for going forward. But anyway, with confirmation that Sly Cooper and Infamous are not in development right now in any fashion at Sucker Punch, what dormant PlayStation franchise would we like to see make a triumphant return, and why?
So I want to jump on this because I want Jack and Daxter so bad, and I don't think we're going to get it.
I never played them. Whoops.
I want them so bad, but I don't know. So for like the re-release that they just dropped with like the PlayStation Plus stuff, is they actually also fixed some of the mechanics and stuff like that. So because they spent more time in like dropping it on PS5, I'm so scared we're not going to get like, because I want like a reignited trilogy version of Jack and Daxter, and I want a new one so bad. I love that world. I love that story. so obsessed with it, and I just want it in my life, and I don't think I'm going to get it.
I think it's possible one day. Soon, probably not. But I think that it depends. I think it so heavily hinges on how well these legacy titles do on the PS Plus. Because if there's a massive draw to those old games and as such old franchises, they might take notice that, oh, there is still interest in people playing these titles. And that, I mean, that's kind of what they did with Crash. They did the Reignited trilogy. That did really well. So then they greenlit Crash 4. So maybe again, it would probably be outsourced to a third party. I don't see Naughty Dog ever going back to Jak and Daxter. Unless it
No,
was
absolutely
really different.
no way. Yeah, unless they like literally change like what type of game it is, there's no way that Naughty Dog is going to go back to that. Which, like, I understand, and I definitely get why. It's just I just love that franchise so much.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we've already seen that. Sam, you bring up a great point that I certainly think their trial run of user engagement for these older games they'll be looking at on the PS Plus subscription. And also, as we've seen recently with Atlas, they sent out fan surveys over the past 2 years asking if fans wanted Persona games on Switch. And granted, right, people who answer a survey about what they're looking for are usually in that enthusiast cohort of consumer, not the common player. But people said they would like a Persona Switch port of Persona 5 and other Persona games. And as we saw recently, Persona 5 Royal, which was already on PlayStation, and Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable were all coming to Nintendo Switch, Game Pass, and Persona 4 Golden and P3 Portable are coming to modern PlayStation consoles too come fall. So I guess my point is that companies are always on the lookout for that engagement and feedback. So if you guys really want these older games to come to PlayStation and you have a PS Extra premium subscription, show them, play these games. I think.
So do you think that they're using these as surveys?
No, but I think they're using it as a proxy for engagement. I think Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy is on.
All three of them are.
Extra and premium?
Yeah.
Oh, all three of them are, yeah. So they're already on the service. So I think they're going to take a special look with a lot of the statistics and data they can generate from the game service to see what types of games people are being engaged towards.
I don't think that's the case for like every game in the legacy catalog, obviously, but like Ape Escape, particularly, both of those titles are on the catalog, and they've done extremely well, at least on social media. There's been a lot of people saying that as soon as they signed up to premium, the very first title they went to was Ape Escape. So I think, if you look at Ape Escape, you could maybe, we just said it, Team Asobi. I think that would probably be a really good fit. Would I want them to do an Ape Escape game? How viable is that in today's market? Probably not that much. But
Ape Escape as an IP doesn't have feet like an Uncharted does.
Yeah, exactly. But there are those kind of franchises, particularly, that might be testing the waters. And obviously, we're going to get more legacy titles. I think every month. I think they said that they're going to add new stuff into the collection. So we'll see what else they add, and maybe that might give us an indication of where their heads are pointing potentially for future stuff.
Oh man, it would make me so happy.
Here's hoping.
What games are you guys looking for, or franchises, I guess?
There are plenty. I could say Infamous, I could say Sly Cooper, but what I am going to say is Resistance from Insomniac.
Sam, that's what I was going to say.
What was it actually?
I'll pick a different one now, but yeah.
I'm so sorry, Taylor. That was interesting coincidence.
You're goddamn right.
For many reasons, I think that Resistance as an IP is just really compelling. It was one of the first titles I played on PS3. I stuck with it throughout that whole generation. I think Resistance 3 in particular is criminally underrated. I even enjoyed the PSP titles. PS Vita as well, I think. Anyway, getting off track. I think that current day Sony, as we are talking now, really lack in the FPS department. Whilst I'm not necessarily a massive first person shooter fan, I think that rather than going back to something like Killzone, which is cool, plays well, but ultimately kind of generic, I think that Resistance is a really unique IP and could help fill that void really well. Again, would Insomniac do that now? Probably not. Who would? Couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I still think that there is real tangible viability in bringing that franchise back for the reasons I just said.
So I'm curious. Like, I wonder if you guys could give me like an elevator pitch, because I've heard the name Resistance, but it's so far off my radar. I don't even know what the gameplay looks like. I don't know what the game looks like. I have no idea what this is.
I think Sam would be the person to get that.
Okay, so elevator pitch. Oh boy. Okay. So it's a first-person shooter. It is set in an alternate history. The first game in the series takes place around the start of the First World War, but instead of the Germans being the antagonists, essentially a meteorite crashes to Earth, and it brings with it this parasitic life form that takes over its hosts, and then those hosts also help conglomerate other people to turn into these creatures known as the Chimera. And it's essentially, the first game is you're in the British Allied forces fighting against them at the onset of their invasion of Earth, and it progresses. And Resistance 3 is essentially you are the last stand. There's like a handful of humans left on the planet, and you are just against this seemingly impenetrable, unstoppable force. There's lots of really cool creature designs. It's quite horror oriented. And I just love alt history stuff as well, so that's right up my alley. Again, being a Brit, that's kind of cool. Not every game is. All the other games are set in America apart from one. But that's the general pitch. There obviously were multiplayer modes involved there. That wasn't my thing. But again, they need multiplayer titles. There's lots of live service stuff coming. I could very easily see Resistance being one of those titles.
That sounds really cool. I definitely understand why I didn't get into it, because I'm so bad at first person shooters.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds really cool. Now I want it to come back to.
Especially just compared to like most other FPSs, there is just so much there. Again, it could have just been a generic FPS made by Insomniac, but they went with this weird horror-oriented alt history thing, and it's been gone for like a decade now. I think it was 2013 that Resistance 3 came out. So yeah, that would be my pick. I think it needs to come back, or at least something does, whether it's Killzone or Resistance or a new IP. And FPS needs to be in the PlayStation first party catalog for sure.
I mean, it sounds like based on what you're saying, it sounds like they could definitely go with like some sort of like open world, like kind of. You're like, it could also be like an isolation thing where you're like the last person and you're trying to find other people.
I mean, yeah, that's like, Dying Light is already fits that bill a little bit well. An open world FPS where you're one of the last surviving. Granted, it's zombies, not aliens, which could be an interesting dynamic, but companies have already started to explore that. But I think it would be fun for them to re-explore it. Resistance in that sense. I'm not so big on open world because I'm not a big open world fan, but bringing back Resistance would be, I think, would do everyone some good. But
I'm sorry for taking your pick, Taylor.
No, it's okay. I was thinking of another one while you guys were talking, and this is a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it would be cool if PlayStation brought back Mod Nation Racers.
Ooh!
Which, for those who don't know, was an arcade racing franchise that was a PlayStation exclusive where you had these little humanoid video game characters. Think about kind of like more round, a little higher def Mii's. Mii's from
quite similar to Little Big Planet as well.
Yeah, a little similar to Little Big Planet in that kind of plump, small art style. But it was an arcade racer where you went around the track in your I don't think it was carts. It was actually cars, right? Picked up items, tried to drive other people off the road, and win the race at the end. And it was a really fun arcade racer. And I think Sony has already cornered the sim market. Well, not cornered, but is a big player in the sim market with, of course, Gran Turismo, which continues to be their best-selling franchise, contrary to a lot of people's intuitive belief. Gran Turismo has huge consumer reach, but I feel Sony could take a real crack at doing it on the casual side with an arcade racer. Give me a real Sony, Mod Nation Racers reboot, or a Sony version of Mario Kart type deal.
Yeah.
But I think Mod Nation Racers already has that legacy for them to build on and bring back out of left field, and it would be a fun time. Their Xbox doesn't really have an arcade racer to its, well, they have Forza Horizon, but they don't have really what I would call a kid-friendly, family-friendly, all-age-friendly type racer like a Mario Kart, like a Sonic All-Stars Racing. That would be a cool thing to explore. So, Mod Nation Racers, how about it?
That was out of left field, but I appreciate it. I like that.
So I have a question for you guys. Have you guys ever heard of or played Mort the Chicken?
Nope.
Okay, I just feel like I have slipped into an alternate dimension where nobody has played Mort the Chicken. But that was, so I had a list of several games, and Mort the Chicken is on there because I played it as a kid, and I remember having so much fun. It was this really weird platformer where you're just playing this bizarre looking chicken, and I don't really remember too much about it, and so I just have never really heard anybody else talk about it, so I almost wonder, it feels like it doesn't exist except for in my head. But I looked it up and it does exist.
It does exist.
So,
Got a 2.5 out of 10 on IGN. And
that
it was
box art
developed.
is horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Developed by a developer called And Now, one word, but I've never heard of them. And they were published by Ubisoft and Crave Entertainment. This looks bad.
Yeah, but I just remember having so much fun.
Maybe you had a little kid burst into glasses. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, that probably is what happened. I wonder. I actually looked when they had all those legacy titles. I looked because I was I really do want to go back and look at this game and see if it was any good. But yeah, I don't know. I want to see it come back, not as a remake, but I just want to see it because I feel like it doesn't exist. But
we'll be eating our words when the next Naughty Dog game is Mort the Chicken.
Mort the Chicken.
What, this is going to be the new Knack meme, right? Oh, what time? What I should have said Knack. What plays Knack 3, bring it to me.
Let it die, Taylor. Let it die.
Yeah, I've never been a big Knack fan, but I appreciate the memes.
Did you guys ever play Legend of Dragoon either?
No, but I know a lot of people love it.
I think they did put that one up in the legacy stuff, though.
It's not there currently. I think it's definitely going to be one that will be there sooner rather than later, because I know Shuhei Yoshida, who is the head of indies at PlayStation currently, he is a massive fan of that. So I would be surprised if he hasn't already petitioned for it to be there.
Right.
I would. Wait, what? I'm looking stuff up. Blue Point Game announces Legend of Dragoon remake.
No way.
Wait, what? Breaking news? What?
Wait, no, this is from April.
No.
How did I miss this?
No, this is from April 1st. That's an April Fool's article.
Okay.
You're looking at console.
Brianna, you almost had me, Bri. You almost had me.
Oh my God! Wait. Were you just bullshitting us the whole time?
No, I really do want it, but
answer the question. Did you just leak the story knowing
that was
us?
No, I did miss the April 1st, and then I read it, and then I laughed because I saw the April 1st after.
I
how cool would that be?
Oh yeah,
especially if it was Blue Point.
Just remake Bloodborne first.
I want Legend. It was, to be honest with you, I thought it was so cool when I was a kid. I really thought this game was so cool, but I just remember it being so over my head that I couldn't figure out what was really going on with the mechanics because I was so young when it came out. And I just really want that game to come back so that way I can actually experience it, But yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah.
Dude, well, honestly, I got April Fooled months later, but also
that was great.
Now that's my dream. Now I can say I have a goal.
April Fools, everyone. That's great. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. This was a great episode, our official episode 1 of our normal show format. And
so exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Again, you can find us on YouTube at Save the Game Media. Don't forget to check our Discord. Links will be in the show notes and description if you're watching this on video. And where can people find you, Breen?
I'm at Fabulous Brianna. My name is spelled with an E and 2 N's. I know there's a million spellings of Brianna. So.
Sam?
You can find me on Twitter at Sam Heaney. That's Heaney.
Awesome. And I also forgot to mention before I go that we'd also like to thank our patrons once again.
Of course.
And you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia with our patrons Alpaca Tom, Bucky Blue, and Hopple. And you can find me not on Twitter because I don't have Twitter because I don't feel like it. Find me on the Discord at Taylor. And yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Have a fantastic day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.